the data sources are available from both internal and external that feeds raw data to be stored into the warehouse. Metadata describes the structure, source, usage of data within the data warehouse, making it easy for the users and the systems to understand to work with the data. So once you go to the Create tab and you create it, all the forms will be loaded up there and you can click on it and automatically it will generate the basic form once you start giving on to the option for that. Good morning and welcome to the second session, Unit 3, 4th semester BBA, Information Technology for Business, where we're going to speak about database management systems. From the session that we were continuing, we need to understand the components of data warehouse. Now, we all believe that data warehousing itself has become a very, very important component for all of us. Why? Because the data sources are available from both internal and external that feeds raw data to be stored into the warehouse. Now, typically, if you look into a warehouse, let's imagine it for a while. Now, the warehouse would be a big space where you store the materials inside. So typically, you will get materials from outside, from internal, from all sources. So similarly, inside a data warehouse, you will see that the data is getting stored from all angles possible. So this is the storage house. This is that place where all the data is going to be kept completely secure. Now, ETL, extract, transform, load process. Now, this is a process responsible for extracting data from the different sources, transforming into suitable format and loading the data into the data warehouse. Which means, first thing is that you need to extract only the things that are needed. We cannot just keep on adding data as and when it comes, because the aim of data warehousing is to have the exact data that is needed for making decisions and not just putting in the data as and when we like. So what we need to look here is that let's extract the data that is available from the sources. Then let us transform the data. Transforming it means that to some meaningful information. So that is needed here. Then let us load it to the data warehouse. That means once the transformation process is done, we will load the actual content. The content that is needed for making valuable decisions will be uploaded to the data warehouse. Now comes the data warehouse database. This is a central repository where the cleaned and transformed data is stored. So typically organized in a multi-dimensional format for efficient query and reporting. Now what happens is that that data warehouse has become a collection of pristine data which will be used for multi-dimensional purpose. Why? Because using one data, we can make multiple dimensions, we can answer multiple queries. So that is why this is very, very important for us where we are storing the database. So this is our repository through which we are going to store the necessary data. Now, as we move forward, let's try to talk about metadata and data marts. Now, what is a metadata all about? Metadata describes the structure, source, usage of data within the data warehouse, making it easy for the users and the systems to understand to work with the data. So metadata is a high-end collection which is going to come back and tell from where we have used it, how we have to work with it, and what are the factors for the users to use that particular data and go forward. Next comes the data marts. They are smaller, more focused data repository derived from the data warehouse, designed to meet the needs of specific departments of function. So whenever we go into a retail mart or a shop, we will see different sections which has specific kind of products. So for example, let's say toothpaste, let's say soap, or let's say toiletries, or we're going to talk about FMCGs. There would be specific products available at specific corners. Similarly, for the departments, we also have data marts where we store that specific data and it moves further. The next one is called as OLAP, or the Online Analytical Processing Tools, which means to say that using this data, we can analyze it at multi-dimensions, providing or supporting more complex queries. Analytical queries can be analyzed and support. What is very important here is that this word called as deeper insights. Data cannot be looked at the top level. It needs to be dived. Take a deep dive inside. You need to look into it, what it is, where can we use this data, where it can be made even more meaningful, and why will that data actually matter to each one of us. So all these things have to be understood, and then only data becomes even more meaningful to us. So as online analytical processing, we need to understand the consequences of data and take it forward. Now, the end user access tools, these are the reporting or analysis tools such as dashboards, business intelligence that enable the business users to query the data warehouse and generate reports. So this becomes very, very important for each one of us. That will generate the reports that will take us forward in terms of running the database to a successful level. So end user reports are very, very important. Why? Because the database will reflect the quality of decisions that are being made from here. Let's move further from here, and now let's try to understand the application of Dbms, which is used under many industries and in everyday activities, starting from banking to education to retail to social media to airlines. Probably everywhere we are talking about database management system. The first one, when you look into banking, I think that's the most critical area of database management, because you're handling lot of sensitive information, especially financial information about the accounts and transactions part, the education where you're tracking the student records, courses and grades. Then you're talking about managing the inventory, customer orders and supply chains altogether. We are talking about storing of user information, post and connections. We are also talking about airlines, where we are going to see that the flight reservations and other scheduling is being managed through this database. So everywhere we are talking about database and database everywhere. Now this is very, very important for all of us. Why? Because in every walk of life, somewhere or the other, data will become an integral part of the business. You cannot avoid data. You can't reduce it. You cannot say that without database, I can run my show. No, you need to manage database and successfully grow with it in such an order so that you are able to scan, you're able to take it forward to the next level. Now, let's talk about Microsoft Access, which is becoming very, very powerful today. So what is Microsoft Access? Why it is important? Because this is a popular relational database that combines the Microsoft Jet database engine within a graphical user interface. It is suitable for small to medium applications. Now, this becomes very, very important for all of us. So let's try to understand. This is a combination of applications that we are talking about. Now, it's a relational database that combines Microsoft's Jet database engine with graphical user interface. So it has a combination factor that we are talking about. It tries to combine various user interfaces, tries to make that small to medium sized application is definitely dependent on this. So MS Access is going to be that most interesting relational database management services that combines that Microsoft Jet database engine with a popular graphical user interface. It's also suitable for small to medium sized applications. Why? Because again, when we talk about the MSME sector, this is one of the most important tools that they have been using to publish their reports and other factors. So definitely MS Access is one of the most important tools that we can talk about in the DBMS today. Now, what does this MS Access actually do? Try to create a database. How does that database look? First of all, you need to open the Microsoft Access in the application platform. So once you open it, you start selecting a blank desktop database. So once you have opened up your database, you will select a blank one. Enter the file name and choose a location to save, and then click create. So what you're going to do now is that you're going to create a database. Let's say that database can be about students, it can be about a college, it can be about a classroom. So you're going to name that database, you're going to create it, save it at a particular location. The next thing is that how are you going to create a table? Now, creating a table is very, very simple. What you have to do is that click on that first table one, which opens up in the datasheet view by default. Click view, design view on the ribbon. So it goes on. And now what happens is that the design view on the ribbon will now tell you that it has started creating on that, and enter the name for the table like employees and click OK. In the design view, define the field names, the data type property. So since we have taken employees, now for example, employee ID or their number, the first name, the last name, the department, which vertical they belong to, any specialized project name, all those things can be a part of this table. So we are creating a separate system, a separate activity there through which this database can be viewed upon. Next thing is that when you start looking into the factor of adding the data, switch to the data sheet view by clicking the view. So once you click the view one, you'll see the data sheet view. Typically type the data directly into rows and columns similar to the spreadsheet. Access automatically will save the data as you move between the records. So this is very, very important. Access will directly start saving the records. It will start telling where it is going and what is happening inside. So you will be able to view it directly in terms of the activities. Now the forms in MS Access, the first one will be in the navigation pane. As you know about it, select the table that you want to create a form for that. Then let's say you go to the create tab on the ribbon, and in the forms group you will click on the form. The Access automatically will generate a very, very basic form, so you will be able to understand how does that form work. You can use a design view or a layout view altogether to modify the form's appearance, controls and other factors, which is very, very important for us. Now, when we are talking about the forms, the most important thing in the navigation, you should be able to understand from where you are moving. So once you go to the create tab and you create it, all the forms will be loaded up there, and you can click on it and automatically it will generate the basic form once you start giving on to the option for that. Now the design view or the layout view will modify the form's appearance. So as the viewer wants to change the appearance, you can go in and add the controls factor there. Now the next thing that we are going to see about is that reports. Reports are very, very important. So these are basically used to summarize and present data in professional print-ready format. So now you have made the report, you want to present the report to your management. So this is where you would summarize and get the report ready so that you are going to print it and present it all across. In the navigation pane, you will select the table or query that contains data you want to report. Go again to the create tab, the reports group, click on the report. Now the report wizard will be created with more options. Access applies to the report selected on the selected data. Switch either to design view or to the layout view to the format to understand the headers, footers and group data, and you start applying the calculations. So you would see that in this entire reporting format, you will see how does that wizard starts working in terms of granting access to each one of you. Now, this is very, very important for all of us. Why? Because once you understand this entire format, you will be able to see how Access is actually creating a magic in terms of presenting your reports. With this, I come to the end of today's session. I hope and believe that all the facts and figures that we have spoken about the database management system will be of a great help to you, both in terms of theory as well as in practical walk of life. In the upcoming session, we are going to learn more about Excel functions, database functions. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed. You have a great day ahead. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.